What does being a badass in business mean to you?
It means being able to walk away from whatever I want and knowing that I'll be fine.
And how do you have that knowingness that it'll be fine?
Confidence. I didn't always have that, but I have it now. Now I'm a fucking badass. I know if I have to let a client go, I'll get another one. It'll happen. I'm good with that.
Welcome back to the Badass Women in Business podcast. We are looking forward to a great conversation today with our guest, Sarah Noel Block. Sarah, welcome to the podcast. And just start off by telling us your story.
Okay, I am a growth consultant, the founder of Tiny Marketing, and I'm mainly working with solo consultants to help them figure out from offer all the way to marketing what they should do so they can scale as a one-person company. And then on the retainer side of my business, I'm working with tiny B2B teams to build out systems so they're not burning out, because that's so freaking easy to happen. And it was me. I certainly did, which is why I focused in on them. Now, do we want to go back in time at this point? The whole story?
Everything from birth to now. Let's go.
So I came out of my mom. No, I'll stop there. We won't go back that far. I started Tiny Marketing as kind of a side hustle after I was laid off in 2008. And I was like, fuck that. I am never, ever going to be dependent on one company again. That's just not for me. So I went on this mission to have distributed income. And I had just a whole bunch of freelance, random things where like I was editing dissertations. I was writing articles about being an accidental landlord. I ended up connecting because I did become an accidental landlord. And I connected with a bunch of companies that also supported them. So I ended up doing that. And I did that for 10 years because I was a huge baby and really terrified to start it on my own. And then in 2020, that's when I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it because I had enough clients to cover my salary and my kids were in virtual school and my company wanted me back in the office. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to do this thing. And that's when I launched it officially. I planned it out like 6 months in advance so I could reverse engineer it and make sure everything was in place before I actually left, though.
You did something gutsy, but also very well planned. I think it's the perfect time for people who are considering starting a new business to at least test the waters while still being employed. I know a lot of employers won't agree with what I'm saying, but I think that's the safe way to actually get your feet wet, because the scariest thing for a business owner is to make the jump. And when you are in a position where you can make it safely because you have something to fall back on, and it's the best of any situation out there. I am curious. So one of the things that Cristy and I see with all of our clients that work with us is what you said earlier, that growth piece of being able to value yourself through creating an offer or packages. Like, what are you seeing in the marketplace working with those small consultants or small business owners, maybe first-time business owners? What is their biggest roadblock to creating a business that's going to be sustainable for them?
Yeah, I would say they overthink. For one, and they overthink what their offer should be. I mean, that's a huge one. I see so many messages like, what should my thing be? Just test a bunch of things out and like look at your history, as an employee, what were you really good at? And just test out those offers. You can figure it out later. Like I was saying, I did dissertation editing. I was writing articles. I designed websites. I did all sorts of things until I figured out who did I like working with the most and who got the easiest transformation. What did I do for them? And that allowed me to like get narrower and narrower as I was doing this over this long ass journey I had. You could do it much faster than me. I have like systems in place now where I can deploy an offer and with just like a couple different testing steps before I spend time and money on it.
When you say you deploy an offer and test it, what does that really look like, especially when it comes to service-based businesses?
Yeah, for myself, I love testing out new offers because I'm like most entrepreneurs and I get bored. I'm like, what could I do? How can I put new wrapping paper on this? And other people get bored too because they're living in my world, seeing the same thing. And they're like, she's talked about this before. So you just put new wrapping paper on it, put it in a different kind of container. So one way I test is I'll tease it out that I'm thinking about this offer on social media, and I'll make sure that I'm figuring out, like, do they even care? Like, is this something that they would want? So I put it in, I did this last week, so it's really fresh. I put it in the niche communities, like the Slack groups that I'm in, and I ask, is this something you guys would be interested in? I put it on LinkedIn as a poll, and I'm like, this is the thing I'm thinking about. Say yes or no. Is this something I should even bother with? So I start there, and then, so that's step one, just gauge interest in it. Step two is a wait list. And then step three is a pop-up offer. I'll offer it for like 2 weeks just to like bring in a bunch of people at one time. It's a cash injection, which is nice, but it also lets me figure out, like, is this something I would want to do long term? Do I want this to be a big offer, like a main offer of mine? Or is this something that was like a fun test? They got what they wanted. And I'm like, actually, I hated delivering that. I'm going to just moonwalk on out of here now. But it's like simple 3 steps, couple of weeks, you get a cash injection in the end, and you're not wasting your time.
Follow up on that, because I feel like when browsing, especially on the Instagrams and Facebooks of the world, I see a lot of those pop-up offers. So I want to understand it from the back end. If this is something that you, as the person who are delivering that service or that offer, realize it's not my cup of tea, how do you moonwalk out of it with all of these people that have already signed up for the offer? Do you continue delivering it for them? Or do you reframe the original offer that they signed up with to make it more to your taste?
That's a good question. So when I do the pop-up offer, I always make the offer that might be long-term later a small container. So I have this little box that I have to fulfill, but it also is validation that this is worth doing, that people care about it. And it also allows me to walk away. Like once I've finished delivering that little box of an offer, I can walk away.
That is really smart advice for a couple of reasons. One, I would say that most people have an idea of what they want to offer, but then they don't test and make sure it's a need for the audience they're looking to serve. And so you're giving really easy solutions on how do I test this before I make the larger investment in the marketing or building out the entire program or offer that I'm doing. And I think that so many people get themselves stuck in, well, this is my one thing. So how do people even start thinking or surveying or finding ways of like, what does my audience really need?
Ooh, okay. I have gateway offers that I use that I know people are going to need because I'm taking the challenge that they're going through and building out just a custom strategy. But what's part of that is an interview. So let me just walk through what a gateway offer is real quick, and then I can explain how you can figure out what your core offer is from it. So it's a 3-part offer. And it takes place within 2 weeks, like it's completed within 2 weeks. The first part is you're interviewing the entire internal team that needs to be part of the decision-making process, which is important when it's a B2B that you're serving because it's always a committee that's making that decision. It's never one person. So you start there and you get a ton of insights from that interview. So not only are you getting the information you need to help them solve that problem, you're also getting a lot of market insight. what challenges are they going through? What solutions have they tried and didn't work? What do they hate that other people do that doesn't actually solve their problem? What have they tried? You get all of this market insight while you're also getting their insights and their perspective. You can take that information and take it into part 2 of that offer, which is the documented strategy. So you're using their exact words on their challenges and pain points in the documented strategy, and you can tie it into what that solution is. So then when they're like, that's not going to work for us, you can be like, actually, this is a freaking quote from you on what your problem is, and tie it back into why that solution would work. So you give them that documented strategy that's taking their words and you in your strategy, and you're merging it. And then piece 3 is the review session. That's usually only 30 minutes. They've already gotten the documented strategies. So they just come with questions and like, how do I make this real? And that's usually when you're moving them to the offer, what your high ticket offer is. Like, I can do it for you. It would look like this, or you could take this and do it on your own. So that gives you a lot of insight once you do a few of these on what your core offer could be, because you're going to start seeing these trends emerge in those interviews. And now you have a ton of market research to figure out what's my thing. Now you know.
How long did it take you specifically to figure out your ideal client persona and profile? Like how many of those tests did you do in order to finally figure out this is it? This is who I want to serve?
Yeah. I mean, I've evolved a ton. So at first it started in real estate because I had that background in, well, those people were me. I was an accidental landlord. So I was doing that. And then as I was evolving, I looked at like, who did I serve in my roles as an employee? Because I was in corporate for like 15 years. And I started testing out those. And just instead of going super niche on who my ideal client was right off the bat, I tested and I worked with different groups that I've worked with before. And then I narrowed it down, like I was saying before, by who had the easiest transformation, who did I like working with. If they have an easy transformation, you're both happy. And then they're going to refer more people to you.
So I want to go back to 2020. It sounds like you had some life circumstances that helped make that jump or leap.
Kicked my ass over the over the line.
What would you say to the person that still feels pretty comfortable in their corporate day-to-day job? Maybe they've been moonlighting slightly on the side, but they haven't developed the confidence to say, I'm ready to go all in. What would be the internal triggers for that person to say, this might be the time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was talking to someone like 2 weeks ago who was in that position. And I was like, you're going to know in your body if you actually want to move forward. So there's like, what do you want your life to look like? Does the freedom that you have in corporate work for your lifestyle? Is that something you enjoy? Not everybody has to be a full-time entrepreneur. It's not like that doesn't have to be your life. If you enjoy working corporate, if you enjoy the freedom that you have, then do it. But there are circumstances where if you want to travel more, if you want to have more freedom for your kids' schedules, those are things you want to take into consider. Like if you have a bad month in your business, can you afford your mortgage? Things like that are the things you want to look at before you decide to take the leap. Like when I finally left in 2020, I was still the breadwinner. My husband was a teacher and I was head of marketing. I was scared shitless of being in a position where my family was suffering because I made a decision because, I like to go on road trips. So it was scary making that decision. And that's why I took that like 6 months to reverse engineer myself into a position where I could leave confidently.
I want to talk about scaling and also what vision you have for the future with Tiny Marketing and yourself specifically. Do you foresee doing this for the foreseeable future, or do you have plans to bring other people to take over even your brain so that you don't have to be conceptualizing those offers? Like, what is the long-term play here?
Long-term play, no, I don't plan on I don't ever see myself as being that person who's just like the face of the business. I love the strategy piece of it. I always want to be part of that. Now, I do have a team that helps with the stuff that I hate doing. And I love them for that. But the strategy piece, that'll always be me. And like conceptualizing offers, I freaking love that. I'm talking to you about this today because I like it. It's fun for me. So that's not something I would take away. But if we're talking scaling, like the first taste I had of scaling, it sucked and I was terrible at it. So that could also give me a little fear in what future Sarah sees in scaling. Like maybe I hated it so much the first time when I just like got inundated with clients immediately, because I was so scared to leave. I probably got too many clients and then I had to scale faster and build a team before I was ready. I was just a little baby entrepreneur. I was not prepared to be the mom to little employees. But you live and you learn. And I made a lot of mistakes during that. Burned down business structures, rebuilt, burn them down again, rebuilt. So scaling is not my strong suit. I'll say that.
What were probably the 3 greatest challenges in scaling for you? And the secondary question is, I love how you're like, I burnt systems down. I had to rebuild and redo that. Considering it sounds like you had to hire some support and team members, how did you communicate hey, we're ditching that entire strategy and structure and we're starting over, and get their buy-in as well? So it's a 2-part question.
2021, I think, is when I had to start hiring people. And I had a big team for me, like bigger than I have now then, probably 7 people that were under me. So we ran it like that for 2 years, I think. And we got in a good flow, but then eventually I found that like as the team expanded, it was harder. I was becoming a bottleneck for one. That was a problem because I had to be the person to approve everything, because when I didn't, it was not to the level that I wanted. So then I was the bottleneck. And that's the point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to change. I'm going to still do the same thing that I do, but I'm going to do it in an intensive model instead. So I only kept a couple of my employees at that point that could help me with the execution, scaled that down. And then I would work with one client at a time in intensive blocks. And I loved that until I didn't anymore. And like I said, I built, I burnt, I built, I burnt. So I did that for a year. And this is really good timing because last week I had a meeting with my CFO and we actually looked back on those years. So I can give you like some financial information. So at that point, during my intensive era, we'll call it, I was at my most profitable during that compared to the years that I had a big team and I was running it as an agency. But then I got to the point where I was burnt out on selling. I was like, now I don't have all of these retainers where I only had to sell like 5 times a year. I have to sell all the time now. So I got burnt down on that. I was like, burn. Let me light that match and toss it on again. And now I'm in my like mini agency era for my retainers where I just have a tiny team and bigger retainers now. So I don't have to have as many clients. And that is working beautifully. So going back to my CFO call last week, now this is my most profitable year. So this one beat the intensive year with like a lean team and higher retainers, which honestly, I was probably just like really undercharging before because I had like, I think 17 clients. I was like, that makes me want to throw up now. I would not want 17 clients.
You brought up something that seems to be a universal issue for many entrepreneurs out there, and it's across the board, of undervaluing the service that is provided and coming in with a lowball offer because they feel that they're going to be able to attract a lot of people. Yeah. And to me, it's interesting because Cristy and I have had a lot of examples like that of value perceived being value actual, which means that depending on the type of clients that you're going after, if you charge them too low, they're not going to go with you because they won't understand the value that you provide. And the people who can't afford any type of services, whether it's marketing or bookkeeping or any other service that would be in retainer, unless it is completely necessary for them to have that service in order to be able to offer their or continue their business, is going to be very hard to lend them. So I'm curious about like the iterations that you've had with your pricing specifically that have landed you to those higher offers. How many times did you have to change your ideal client persona to be like, okay, I have to go up market in order to offer those higher retainers because those tiny consultants that maybe have $250,000 of revenue or below are not going to be able to afford me.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I wasn't working with them then. So back during my tiny retainers, tons of client days, I was working with the same size company that I work with now, but cheap asses. So they had the money to pay more for me. They were just really cheap and hard to work for and hard to please. So I've just learned over time how to spot those red flags so much easier and be quick to make decisions on that. Like, I don't care if I'm losing out on $20,000. I don't want to work with you. I would never want to work with you. So now I think I'm working with the same size companies. It's probably like companies within like 15 to 60 million in revenue is usually who I'm working with. And the same was then. They were just really bad. They were just bad clients. You do attract difficult clients with low costs. And that's a lesson that I had to learn on my own. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known that. I was like 17 clients, ching, 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 ching. But it was so much work.
You just validated what everyone needs to hear. If you are offering your services that someone else is offering at a premium, most people go, yeah, I'm giving them value. I want to serve that community. And what you just said is so true. It's usually value perceived as value actual. They're saying, wow, she's really cheap. Well, we're going to have to drive her. We're going to have to tell her how to do it. We're going to have to. And they feel like they've got full control and autonomy because they see you as almost a little bit less than. Mm-hmm. But you come into that same client with a double, triple, 5x price tag on the exact same services. And now they're looking at you and going, oh, she's the expert. She's the one that we need on our team. So I'd be curious just to kind of dive into that a little bit deeper.
I'd love to. Yes. Let's talk about that. So back then, I think I even perceived myself as less than because I was a new entrepreneur, even though I had been in marketing for a long time, like 15 years before I left corporate. And I was the head of marketing. Like I knew what I was doing, but I wasn't confident in myself as an entrepreneur, which is why I undervalued myself. And I took that shit. I was like, you're paying me, I'll deal with it. And then, so they did. They did treat me bad and I let them. It was now that I'm working in a similar structure but higher paid, they do look at me as the expert and they tell me straight up, like, I don't really care about the execution. I care because I want access to your brain. I want you to be able to answer these questions for me and help me solve these problems. They don't care about the same stuff as the cheap ones do, where they're like, I need 20 videos. The cheap guys want, and these guys are like, I just want access to your brain, please.
And there is a difference between a service provider and a strategic partner.
Yeah.
And I think that's a differentiation that people forget to make, is that because we are in a professional services firm or domain, we are often thinking that there is an exchange of deliverables for money, but it's not always deliverables. It is brain power. It is the extension of somebody's firm that you are helping make happen, because you are that executive that they brought into the team that may not be there 40 hours a week like most executives are, but you're there when it matters and when they need you. So yeah. I love that.
It feels so much better too.
Yeah. So for the listeners who are consultants or small business owners that listen to us consistently, where should they start if they ever feel stuck in marketing chaos, which I feel is the majority of people? Like, what do we start with? How do we get out there? How do we, showcase ourselves under the best light so that we can also be strategic partners versus order takers?
Yeah. So let me take it one step backward. Before you even start on your marketing, have a really good biz dev system, because the relationships that you build can build your business. And then marketing is the way that you can scale that, because through your marketing, that's how you're building trust at scale. That's how you're showing your expertise at scale. So start with the relationship building piece before you even get into the marketing. And then when you get into the marketing, the very first thing that I would do is anything with partnerships, because you are borrowing someone else's audience. It helps you grow and get visibility faster. Partner with other people who like to work with the same kind of people that you do, and do trainings together, do a podcast together. You could speak in their community. That's the first place to start. So you don't have to start from absolute scratch. You're just borrowing someone else's tapped in audience that mirrors yours.
Those partnerships are absolutely key. And what would be a couple steps in how do I identify those partners?
Yeah. So I'm working with someone right now on that. And the first thing I said was just go to LinkedIn and start doing a search and see if anybody who you're already connected to is working with the same people as you. So then you could just do a quick outreach. They're already familiar with you, so it's not a cold pitch, and see if they want to collaborate on something with you. That's the easiest thing. And then the second thing that I would do is head on over to like the Slack groups, the circle groups that you're part of, where your ideal customers are hanging out, and connect with other people who are working with them so you can collaborate together. Or you can connect right with the person who owns that community. That's even easier.
Love all of this advice. So when I asked you a question earlier about like your vision for the future, I'm not sure that we actually came to a conclusion of what does, if we were to invite you, let me ask that question differently. If Cristy and I were to invite you to come back in like 5 to 10 years, what would be different?
That is such a hard question to answer. I am building the Tiny Marketing Club. I have been for probably a year and a half. I've been running it, and I love that so much. So I really hope that that becomes a bigger part of my business. It allows me to help those solo consultants that they can't be on retainer with me at scale. And we're both getting big wins out of it. I hope that's a bigger part of my business. And then I have no idea about the rest. I'm a multifaceted person. I might be doing something else altogether. But I think I'll always be doing that piece of it.
And will you always continue the entrepreneurial journey and being self-employed?
Yes, I think I'm completely unemployable at this point. I would. I'm too addicted to freedom to be able to work for the man again. I cannot be sitting in an office for arbitrary periods of time. I could do that stuff at any point. Yes, I will 100% be doing something entrepreneurial.
I think we all of us who have jumped to the other side, always have this quest for freedom that is driving us. And so the idea of going back and signing a contract with someone else who is not a client, but is an employer feels like shackles in disguise.
Yes. That feels like a prison to me. No thanks.
Yeah, 100%. So you've talked quite a bit about, that burnout piece and lighting things on fire. I feel like there is a little pyro in you out there too. That is.
I was just drafting something with the same thing. I think it's fresh in my mind.
Waiting to come out. But so over time, and as you've experienced the different iterations of your structure, how have you protected your time and energy?
I think at the beginning of it, I had really thick boundaries. And that's not normal, I think, for most entrepreneurs. But I put in blockers so I couldn't have a client take over my life. I think that would feel a lot like being in corporate again, is letting them take over and blur the boundaries. So I would put up on Boomerang, you can pause your inbox. So I would pause my inbox during certain periods of the day. So I didn't even see if someone emailed me. Sorry. I only get those emails at 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. And I would pause notifications on Slack. I set clear boundaries in the onboarding with clients so they knew what they would get, when they would get it, and expectations. I'm not doing meetings on Fridays. That's just not a thing I do. No. And I even have that in my email signature where you can see when I take meetings. So there's no question. I'm just really clear about what those boundaries are, and I block anybody from being able to try and go over them.
That is something, considering you started that way, is brilliant. And so many people need to hear that by doing more, you are not actually adding more value. And by protecting your time, you're actually protecting your energy, which in the end protects your output and thrives and fuels that, right? And so, to me, inboxes are reactive, right? It's a very reactive thing of just constantly answering and constantly churning.
Yes.
And when you set those boundaries, they're oh, I'm going to send this and I know I'm not going to hear from her for maybe a day. I'm okay with that. Right? I think those are really important things because I know even for myself, when I first started in advisory work, I felt like I had to prove my worth. So I would do extra work outside of sessions. And then that extra work started piling up on me. And I was wait, I'm already spending X number of hours with these people every single month. And I'm doing all this extra. That's not what I'm here to do, right? And then you start pulling that back and you set those expectations up front. And it just creates a great synergy and alignment with those clients. And those that don't respect it, they're the easy ones to say, you know what, this isn't working.
Yeah. I just did that last week with a client who was just constantly going over my boundaries. I was like,
we're done.
Yeah, we're done. We're done. It was not even a hard decision.
Yeah. And so finding that value, I think it definitely comes with time, but the more you can be clear about it up front and set those boundaries, the easier it's going to be to start attracting those right ideal clients over time.
Yeah. And I think having that communication in a few different places helps too. There's no getting away from what my boundaries are because it's in my email signature. It's in the onboarding. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and it goes back to, again, I seem like a broken record, but we were talking about those order takers versus strategic partners and the fact that you're setting expectations from the very first meetings you have with people. That is so important just to set the tone, because if they can agree to that moving forward, then there's going to be alignment. But when we're going in there with a people pleasing mindset, and we talk a lot about scarcity versus abundance mindset. When you're in a scarcity mindset, you are more likely to get into a client relationship out of desperation because you need the money. So it's like, yeah, whatever I can take, I'll take. And so I'm going to go all in. And then you're setting expectations with those clients that are suddenly expecting a lot for very little money put in, and you end up burning out. So making sure that those expectations are set, and always thinking, and I know it's hard from a place of abundance versus scarcity, because there are a lot of business owners out there that need help no matter what your business is. And it's just finding the right one, expressing your value correctly, and also liking the people that you do business with. I mean, if you don't like the people you do business with, then where is the pleasure in meeting with them on a regular basis?
That's so true. Like at this point in my career, I would not have any client that I wouldn't want to get a drink with at some point. I would just work for the man again if I wanted to just be throwing people that I don't like at my face.
That is so true. Like on a sidebar, Cristy and I went to the Women's Business Enterprise Network conference back in May. Was it May, June? June. It was in June in New Orleans. It was scorchingly hot. And it
was June in New Orleans?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been there in June in New Orleans. It is scorching.
Poor timing. It was so humid, desperately so. But because we love the people that we do business with, we actually shared a house with 6 of our clients, I think. And so it was so fun to have breakfast with them and travel with them to the conference center and having dinners after the conference was over. And so there's the value. Also, strategic partnership and loving the people that you do business with allows you to do way more than just having that meeting relationship with them.
Yeah. They had to be so fun, though.
It was. We still have Aggie toasts. Like one of our clients was making us Aggie toasts every morning, and so that's stuck.
Is that
and
the
so
toast
we still
with the hole and the egg in the middle.
Yeah,
I love those.
I had Aggie toast this morning because of Maya. So shout out to her.
Good choice, Maya. Those are good.
Yes. Very good. And she can make them glutinous and gluten-free. So it was lovely. Awesome. So as we are wrapping up this conversation, what does being a badass in business mean to you?
It means being able to walk away from whatever I want and knowing that I'll be fine.
And how do you have that knowingness that it'll be fine?
Confidence. I didn't always have that, but I have it now. Now I'm a fucking badass. I know if I have to let a client go, I'll get another one. It'll happen. I'm good with that.
What has given you that confidence that wasn't there before?
I think seeing the wins that my clients are getting over and over, where there was definitely a time in my life where I'm like, I'm just getting lucky. I'm getting lucky with these wins. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, no, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this a long time. They've consistently been getting the same wins. I know that I'm helping them. So I think that has helped a lot, is just like more confidence in who I am and what I bring to the table.
And I would say that that confidence also comes, it sounds like you have data. You have the stories. Yeah, you have the knowledge. You have something. Exactly. Data is something that does not lie, right? I mean, it can. Some people can manipulate it.
Yeah, you can skew it for sure.
Yes.
But you're not going to for yourself.
Right. It's the piece that validates. And I think when people are lacking the confidence, go back, do some analysis, create some case studies for your own confidence and your own ability to share. I think those are things that people forget.
That's really good. And I would, along that same line, if you are unsure, like if you're feeling a little less confident, maybe take those offboarding calls that you had, the transcripts from them, and throw them in ChatGPT. Ask what wins were found, like what wins were found as a trend through these transcripts. And that can also help you figure out, like, what is my thing? What am I good at? Because people pretty consistently will tell you the same things over and over again. And you don't realize it until you're like, oh, well, that's nice.
And that's such great advice, especially for anyone who is a solopreneur or getting started on their own. It's hard when you don't have that community to validate. So leveraging AI, leveraging people, leveraging those different tools to give you that clarity is a great next step for anybody. Sarah, I just want to say, first of all, your energy is amazing. It's been so much fun having this conversation. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, also some of your challenges and the way you overcame them. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast. And we're excited to have our listeners get to know you.
This was fun. I appreciate you having me.
100%. And for those of you listening to us, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week for another episode. And in the meantime, I'm having an issue with my short E's and long E's today. In the meantime, stay badass. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did recording it. If you like our show, please rate us, drop us a review on your favorite streaming app, and we'll catch you on the next episode. This was the Badass Women in Business podcast by Cristy and Aggie.